The breakup hit like a door slamming in the dead of night. I stood outside her room, the apartment silent except for my pulse thudding in my ears. 6 months sharing this cramped space with Elena, and I'd never felt so exposed. My ex had left me hollow, words like, "it's not you," echoing until they burned. I just needed comfort, something simple, a hug maybe, to quiet the ache. But knocking meant risking the thin wall between us, the unspoken tension that had built like fog. Her door opened, lavender lotion faint in the air, her eyes sharp in the dim light, pulling me in before I could back out. Elena stood there, mid-20s, her dark hair tied back loose from sketching late into the night. She was always like that, focused, her hands smudged with charcoal, creating worlds on paper while ours felt too small. We'd moved in together after answering the same ad, strangers turned roommates, the kind of arrangement that starts practical but simmers with things unsaid. I hadn't planned to lean on her, but the weight of the evening pressed too hard. Can I come in? My voice cracked, quieter than I meant. She nodded, stepping aside, the room bathed in the soft glow of her desk lamp. Papers scattered everywhere, half-finished drawings of cityscapes that blurred into shadows. I sat on the edge of her bed, the mattress dipping under me, and let it spill out. The way she'd packed her things without a backward glance, leaving me staring at empty drawers. I just need to talk. Or not talk, just be here. She listened. Really listened. Her eyes steady on mine. No interruptions, no pitying nods. When I finished, the silence stretched. Thick, but not uncomfortable. Then her hand found my shoulder, warm through my thin shirt, cutting the chill that had settled in my bones. "You don't have to go through that alone," she said, voice low, like she was sharing a secret with the walls. Her touch lingered a second longer than necessary, fingers pressing just enough to ground me. I swallowed, the air between us shifting. Her room smelled of lavender and ink, a mix that clung to her skin. Thanks. I should head back to my side. But my feet didn't move. The vulnerability hung there, raw, and part of me wanted to bolt, to keep our roommate lines clean. She tilted her head, studying me. "Crash here tonight. The couch in the living room's lumpy anyway. No big deal." Her words were casual, but her gaze held something deeper, boundaries drawn clear in the way she said it, like comfort without complication. I hesitated, heart quickening at the thought of proximity, her steady breathing so close. But the alternative was my empty bed, the echo of solitude. "Okay," I whispered, agreement slipping out before doubt could pull it back. She handed me a spare shirt from her drawer, soft cotton that smelled like her. I changed in the corner, back turned, the fabric brushing my skin like a tentative promise. She busied herself with folding a blanket, giving me space, but I felt her eyes flicker once, twice. When I turned, she was already under the covers on her side, the bed wide enough for distance. I slid in, the sheets cool against my legs, her warmth a quiet presence inches away. The lamp clicked off, darkness settling, but sleep didn't come easy. Her breathing evened out, steady, while my mind raced, grateful, wary, drawn to the line we'd just crossed without meaning to. The room wrapped around us like a half-finished sketch, shadows playing over the scattered drawings on her walls, curved lines of bridges and faces that seemed to watch us in the faint afterglow of the lamp she'd clicked off. Elena's breathing came steady, a rhythm that filled the quiet, her body a warm outline under the covers, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from her side. I lay there, tense, my muscles coiled like wires under the sheets, replaying the casual press of her hand on my shoulder earlier. That warmth had cut through me, simple but insistent, stirring something I hadn't named. The air held her scent, lavender mixed with the faint charcoal dust from her work, and it made the space feel smaller, more intimate than it should. Sleep evaded me, my mind turning over the evening's edges, the way she'd listened without filling the silence, her fingers lingering just a beat too long. What was this pull? Roommates didn't share beds, not like this, even for comfort. I shifted slightly, the mattress creaking, and her breath hitched once, then settled. Part of me wanted to slip out, retreat to my own room and the safety of distance, but the ache from the breakup still throbbed, and her presence dulled it, like a hand on a bruise. Morning light filtered through the blinds, gray and soft, pulling me awake. Elena was already up, moving in the kitchenette with quiet efficiency, the clink of mugs breaking the hush. I sat up, hair tangled, the borrowed shirt rumpled against my skin. "Coffee?" she asked, not turning, but her voice carried a warmth that eased the awkwardness hanging in the air. I nodded, padding over in socked feet, the cool tile grounding me. She handed me a mug, steam rising between us, and her eyes met mine, dark, steady. "Your hair looks good messy," she said, a small smile tugging her lips, her gaze lingering on the strands falling over my forehead, longer than a casual glance. Heat crept up my neck, not just from the coffee's bitterness on my tongue. We moved through the morning like that, words sparse but comfortable, the tension from the night softening into something tentative. Later, as we tackled the shared chores, scrubbing counters side by side, her wiping down the sink while I sorted laundry, fragments of her life slipped out. She mentioned her family back home, the weight of expectations that had kept her sketching in secret, pushing her to fit a mold she never quite did. They wanted straight lines for me. Job, marriage, the usual. But I always veered off the page. Her voice dropped, hands pausing on a dish, revealing a loneliness she'd buried under her focused routine. I saw it then, the way her shoulders carried it, mirroring my own hollow spots. Talking about it deepened the thread between us, her hidden struggles brushing against mine like fingers in the dark. By afternoon, as we folded clothes on the couch, the air thickened again. She set a towel down, turning to me with that unflinching gaze. "What if we did this more? Secret nights, just for comfort. No labels, nothing that changes the roommate thing. To make the alone parts easier." Her words hung there, low and deliberate, her knee brushing mine accidentally, or not, as she leaned in. My pulse quickened, the offer wrapping around the idea of her warmth without the mess of definitions. I nodded, throat tight, the promise of it both relieving and electric. That evening, my phone buzzed, her text simple. "Doors open." I crossed the apartment, heart thudding, and pushed into her room. The door clicked shut behind me, sealing the quiet we both craved. Her room felt different that night, the air thicker, charged with the day's unspoken words. Elena sat cross-legged on the bed, a sketch pad balanced on her knees, charcoal scratching softly against paper. She looked up as the door clicked shut, her eyes catching the low light from the bedside lamp, making them darker, more intent. "Glad you came," she said, voice even, but there was a pull in it, like gravity shifting. I nodded, kicking off my shoes, the rug soft under my feet. We didn't talk much at first, just sat there, the silence comfortable but edged with something new. Her fingers moved over the page, lines forming shapes I couldn't see, and I watched the way her wrist flexed, the faint smudge of black on her skin. Later, in the kitchen, we cooked side by side. Pasta bubbling on the stove, steam rising between us. She reached for the salt at the same time I did, our fingers brushing. Accidental, light, but electric, like a spark jumping skin. Heat flushed through me, sudden and sharp, settling low in my chest. I pulled back quick, heart thudding, pretending to check the timer. What was that? The pull scared me, this roommate line blurring too fast. But she didn't pull away. Her hand lingered near mine on the counter, close enough I felt the warmth. "You okay?" she asked, low, her breath stirring the steam. I nodded, throat tight, drawn back by the quiet need in her eyes. The way she leaned in, just a fraction, like she felt it too. We ate at the small table, knees bumping under it, the contact sending another jolt. Her laugh came easy when I spilled sauce on my shirt, a soft sound that cut the tension. "Here," she said, grabbing a napkin, dabbing at the spot. Her fingers grazed my collarbone through the fabric, deliberate now, slow. I froze, the touch igniting something deep, a warmth spreading like ink in water. "Your laugh softens everything," she murmured, voice low and sultry, eyes on mine. "The room's edges, the hard parts of the day. I didn't notice it before." Her words wrapped around me, compliment laced with hunger, making the air feel heavy, close. I swallowed, the ache building, but I didn't move away this time. The fear lingered, but so did the draw, her quiet need mirroring mine, pulling me closer. Movie night followed, the couch sagging under us as we settled in, some old film flickering on the screen. Our thighs touched, bare skin against denim, the contact warm and steady. I didn't shift, neither did she. Breath synced without trying, in and out, the room dim, her scent, lavender and faint sweat from the day, filling the space. Halfway through, her arm draped over the back of the couch, fingers trailing my shoulder, light as a whisper. The film blurred. All I felt was her nearness, the heat building, slow, insistent. "I've been watching you," she admitted then, voice barely above the dialogue on screen. "The way you move through here, like light cutting fog. Mornings in the kitchen, evenings reading on the couch. It's distracting." Her confession hung there, raw, her gaze unflinching, revealing the want she'd kept hidden. My pulse raced, chest tight with the truth of it. We'd both been circling this. The turn came subtle, her hand sliding to my knee, intentional now, palm warm through my jeans. "This stays secret," she whispered, thumb tracing a small circle, the promise heightening the ache, making it sharper, more urgent. No one could know, not in this building, with its thin walls and prying eyes. The risk thrilled and terrified, binding us tighter. I covered her hand with mine, not pulling away, the touch grounding the fire, starting low. Midnight found us whispering, words fading into quiet, her leading me back to the bed. Sheets tangled slow around us, bodies close but careful, the heat building in breaths and brushes, unspoken but real. Mornings started blending into each other, the line between my room and hers fading like charcoal underwater. I'd wake to her arm draped over my waist, heavy and warm, her skin pressed real against mine through the thin sheet. No words at first, just the steady rise of her chest against my back, breath hot on my neck. It felt like stealing moments, her body a quiet anchor in the dawn light slipping through the curtains. I'd lie there, heart thudding slow, tracing the veins on her forearm with my eyes, the faint pencil scars from her sketches marking her like hidden maps. But the stakes pressed in, shadows of the building's thin walls and wandering eyes. Whispers carried easy here. Mrs. Hargrove next door always lingered in the hall, her gaze sharp when we passed. Elena's past weighed heavier, her closeted years back home making every touch a risk, a crack in the armor she'd built. "They'd never understand," she'd murmur sometimes, voice tight, pulling the covers higher like a shield. I felt it too, the fear coiling in my gut, wondering if a slipped glance or late-night light would unravel us. The secrecy bound us, electric and fragile, turning simple nearness into something forbidden. One evening, after a long shift, I found her in the living room, sketchpad abandoned on the coffee table. She looked up, eyes dark in the lamp's glow, and patted the couch beside her. I sat, close, our thighs touching immediate. Her fingers found my collarbone, tracing slow, deliberate, the pad of her thumb brushing the hollow there. Skin warmed under her touch, a shiver running down my spine. "Your skin," she whispered, voice sultry, low like smoke. "Feels like forgotten silk. Soft, but strong. I could draw it for hours." Her words hung, compliment laced with want, her gaze unflinching as she leaned in, breath mingling with mine. I swallowed, the air thickening, my hand covering hers to still it, but not push away. The hunger in her eyes mirrored the ache building in me, slow and insistent. Doubt crept in later, tangled in the sheets as we lay side by side. "This secrecy, how long?" I asked, voice small in the dark. Her body tensed beside me, arm withdrawing just enough to feel the loss. "I need time," she countered, turning to face me, hand finding my hip to pull me closer, insistent. "The world out there isn't ready for us. Not yet." Her fingers dug in, grounding, her resilience showing in the set of her jaw, the way she held on despite the fear flickering in her eyes. I questioned it, the hiding chafing against the openness I'd craved after the breakup. But her pull was stronger, drawing me back into the warmth, silencing the words with a brush of lips against my temple. The complication hit sharp one afternoon. A knock echoing through the apartment, delivery at the door, packages thudding outside. Elena and I froze in the kitchen, her hand still on my waist from where we'd been laughing over shared coffee. Hearts pounded in sync, loud in the sudden quiet, as I smoothed my shirt and she stepped back, casual mask slipping on. I answered, signing quick, the box heavy in my arms. But the delivery guy's eyes lingered on the rumpled couch, the two mugs side by side. "Busy morning?" he asked, casual, but it twisted in my gut. Door shut, we exhaled together, her hand finding mine again, squeezing tight. The near miss lingered, sharpening the risk, making the hidden touches feel more precious, more urgent. Nights deepened the bond, late talks spilling out in whispers under the covers. She'd share fragments, desires unspoken from years of fitting in, the resilience she'd forged, sketching alone, walls up against family judgments. Her voice cracked once, admitting the loneliness that mirrored mine, her hand clutching mine like a lifeline. I saw her then, barriers thinning, vulnerability raw in the dim light. It pulled me closer, the connection rooting deep, turning comfort into something unbreakable. A bad day at work shattered the rhythm, boss's sharp words echoing, exhaustion heavy in my bones. I texted her from the elevator, door barely closed before I crossed to her room. She met me there, arms open, hands finding each other immediate, pulling me into the quiet heat of her space. The bad day lingered like smoke, but Elena's hands on my arms pulled me back, steadying the shake. We stood there in her doorway, close, her fingers tracing slow lines up my sleeves, grounding the chaos. "Rough one?" she murmured, voice low, pulling me inside. The door shut soft, sealing us in, and I nodded against her shoulder, inhaling the familiar lavender that clung to her skin. Her touch eased the knots, but underneath, the want built, chest tight, a constant hum now, making every brush feel loaded. This secret, was it healing the hollow my ex left? Or just hiding us deeper in shadows? Days blurred, the rhythm of hidden touches holding, until Sarah showed up unannounced one Saturday afternoon. Our mutual friend from the art supply store where Elena sketched, she knocked with her usual energy, arms full of takeout bags. "Heard you two were turning into hermits," she said, breezing in, eyes sharp as she scanned the apartment. The air shifted immediate, our mugs side by side on the counter, a forgotten sketch pad open to half-formed lines that looked too personal. Elena and I exchanged a glance, quick, loaded, and Sarah paused, head tilting. Something's different here. The vibe. Thicker. Her words hung, casual but probing, sensing the invisible thread between us, the way our shoulders brushed when we moved to set the table. I laughed it off, plating the food. But my pulse thudded, chest constricting further. Elena's posture stiffened, defensive, arms crossing tight over her chest, gaze flicking to the window. "Just busy with work," she said, voice clipped, redirecting fast to Sarah's latest exhibit drama. The conversation steered, but the tension simmered, Sarah's eyes darting between us like she could taste the unspoken. When she left, hours later, hugging us both a beat too long, the door clicked shut and the weight crashed in. "She knows," I whispered, turning to Elena, the fear twisting with the want that never quit. She exhaled sharp, backing into the hallway, hands raking through her hair. "She doesn't. And even if she did..." Her words trailed, defensive edge cracking, eyes avoiding mine. I stepped closer, the narrow space forcing proximity, our bodies pressing, her back to the wall, mine inches away, heat radiating through our shirts. Breaths mingled, ragged, her chest rising fast against mine. "You felt it too," I said, voice low, the air thick with the hunger we'd banked all evening. Her hands found my waist, gripping tight, pulling me flush. "Your breath," she whispered, sultry, lips brushing my ear. "It undoes me. Hot, uneven, like you're pulling me apart." The compliment laced with raw need, her fingers digging in, bodies aligned but holding the line, the peak of it electric without tipping over. I leaned in, forehead to hers, the want coiling tighter, chest aching with how much I craved more. Later, in the dim hall light, she softened, apology coming in whispers against my neck, her lips grazing skin, warm and sorry. I didn't mean to shut down. It's just, this scares me. We moved to her room then, sitting on the bed, and she pulled a drawing from her nightstand. Me, captured in pencil strokes, lines soft around my eyes, mouth parted in a vulnerability I hadn't seen in myself. The curve of my jaw, the way my hair fell messy after a long day, it stripped me bare, revealing the raw edges she'd noticed all along. "This is you," she said, voice steady now, handing it over. "The parts I can't hide from." The stakes rose sharp then, the drawing a mirror to our bind. "What if we stopped hiding?" I asked, throat tight, the decision point looming. Going public meant eyes on us, judgments from friends like Sarah, the building's whispers. Elena's fear flickered, hand clutching mine. "This space we built, it's safe because no one knows. Lose that and..." She trailed off, eyes searching mine, the terror of unraveling clear. But the argument faded slow, words giving way to quiet understanding, her resilience meeting my push. Her hand guided me to the couch, fingers laced with mine, pulling us down into the cushions, the reconciliation settling like dusk. Close, unspoken promises in the press of her side against me. The whispers started small, like cracks in plaster, but they spread fast through the building's thin walls. I'd catch fragments in the stairwell, Mrs. Hargrove's voice low to the super one morning. "Those two. Lights on late every night, door clicking shut like they're hiding something." Her words twisted in my gut, the building's gossip coiling tighter around our secret. Elena heard it too, her steps quicker in the hall, eyes darting when we passed neighbors. The tension built, a slow pressure in my chest, turning our hidden touches into something heavier, more desperate. Nights blurred, but the outside world pressed in, making the apartment feel like a cage we both clung to. It broke one evening, the air thick with the day's heat still clinging to the windows. I came home early, the weight of another dodged glance from a tenant too much. Elena was sketching at the table, lines sharp and hurried, her focus a shield. I stood there, chest tight, the want and fear tangling until words spilled out. "We can't keep doing this," I said, voice sharper than intended. "Hiding every look, every touch. I need more. Us. Out there. Real." She set the pencil down slow, eyes lifting to mine, hesitation flickering like a shadow crossing her face. The room shrank around us, walls too close, the air heavy with unsaid fears. Her past, the judgments waiting beyond the door. "You know why," she murmured, standing, but her body leaned away, the distance a fresh ache. "This works because it's ours, safe." I stepped closer, the floorboards creaking under me, my hands clenching at my sides. "Safe? It feels like drowning." The words hung, raw, pulling tears to my eyes, hot and unbidden. She crossed the space then, her hand finding my cheek, thumb brushing the damp track, touch mixing with the salt on my skin. "It started as comfort," she admitted, voice breaking low, her forehead pressing to mine. "Just nights to ease the empty. But you became need. The kind I can't shake." Her fingers trailed down my arm, gripping tight, the confession unraveling us both, tears mingling as she pulled me closer, bodies aligning in the dim kitchen light. Her gaze held mine, unflinching, dark eyes pulling me in deeper. "Your presence," she whispered, sultry edge cutting through the tears. "It unravels me. The way you fill the quiet, your breath syncing with mine, it's chaos to my control. I try to hold the lines, but you blur them every time." Her words wrapped hot around me, her hand sliding to my waist, pressing firm, the intensity building in the press of her palm, breaths shallow and shared. I leaned into it, the hunger flaring despite the storm, her control cracking visible in the tremor of her lips. The phone buzzed then, shattering the moment. Her family's number flashing on the screen. She froze, hand withdrawing, the complication hitting like cold air. "Answer it," I said, stepping back. But she hesitated, eyes pleading. Finally, she picked up, voice steadying into the lie. "No, just busy with work. Roommate's fine, yeah, keeping to ourselves." Probing questions came through the line, her mother's tone sharp about visits, expectations, the straight path she'd never taken. Elena's free hand clenched the counter, knuckles white, the forced words twisting her features. "We'll talk soon," she ended, hanging up quick, the silence after heavier than before. "They'd never," she trailed, voice small, the fear raw in her eyes. I pulled her to me then, arms wrapping tight, her head dropping to my shoulder. "Choose us," I whispered, the moment hanging, my heart thudding against her. She lifted her face, tears drying, resolve hardening. "I do. We face it together. No more half shadows." Her vow settled, hands linking firm, the choice anchoring us. We moved to the bed slow, bodies curling close under the sheets, exhaustion pulling us under. Dawnlight filtered in later, gray and soft through the blinds, stirring us awake. Her hand squeezed mine, pulling us from the tangle to face the day. The world outside waiting, but no longer alone. The days after settled into a new rhythm. Quieter, but freer. The apartment's walls feeling less like barriers. Morning started with coffee in the kitchen. Elena's hand brushing mine as she passed the mug. Open now, no quick pull away. The touch lingered, fingers curling around the handle together, warmth seeping through ceramic. We'd stand there, shoulders touching, the steam rising between us like a shared breath. Secrecy lifted, slow, the weight easing from our steps, turning the cramped space into something ours, unhidden, real. Her eyes met mine without darting, dark and steady, the fear fading into quiet confidence. We talked more, words spilling easy over breakfast, about futures that included us both. "What if we made this permanent?" she'd ask, voice low, sketching idly on a napkin, lines curving into shapes that hinted at plans, travels, a life beyond the apartment's edges. Her drawings shifted too, pages filling with us intertwined, my hand in hers, bodies outlined soft against city backdrops, forms blending like ink bleeding into water. I'd watch her work, the pencil scratching steady, capturing the way my head fit against her shoulder, the curve of our legs tangled in sleep. Those sketches rooted us, turning abstract wants into something tangible, her focus pulling our isolation apart, thread by thread. The outside world tested us gentle at first. Mrs. Hargrove caught us in the hall one afternoon, her eyes narrowing at the way Elena's arm looped loose around my waist as we carried groceries. "Getting close, aren't you?" she said, voice edged with that old judgment, bags wrestling in her grip. Elena didn't flinch, just met her gaze. "Yeah, we're together." The words hung simple, no defense, her hand squeezing mine firm. Hargrove paused, lips parting, then closing, the sharpness softening into something like reluctant nod. "Good for you, then." No more whispers after that, just quiet acceptance in her greetings. The building's air clearing slow, judgments turning to indifference we could live with. We stepped out more, walks to the neighborhood where the city hummed less confining. Her arm linked with mine, elbow hook solid, the pavement thudding under our steps in sync. Wind tugged at our hair, carrying scents of rain-wet asphalt and distant food carts, her warmth cutting the chill. I'd feel her thumb trace my knuckles, casual, the world blurring past, people rushing, lights flickering on as dusk fell. It paid off in senses. The press of her side against me, breath visible in the cool air, syncing with mine. No more glancing over shoulders, just us moving forward, the streets feeling wider, less watchful. "You know that shift, don't you?" The way comfort sneaks into chosen intimacy, raw and hard-earned, like finding solid ground after slipping on wet stone. It healed the hollows, my breakups echo, her years of hidden sketches, turning isolation into something shared. Her resilience met my openness head-on, barriers crumbling not with force, but steady pressure. Her hand in mine the proof. We fit now, pieces aligning without force, the ache from before softening into warmth that held. That evening, as rain pattered against the window like it had that first night, Elena turned from the stove, spoon in hand, eyes on mine. "Stay forever," she said, voice steady, no question in it. No more temporary lines, just us. Her words wrapped close, pulling me to her, the invitation sealing the calm we'd built. Sheets waited later, bodies curling familiar, the night unfolding without shadows. Months slipped by, the apartment transforming into something undeniably ours. Walls no longer just shared, but marked with Elena's drawings. Framed sketches pinned up like chapters of our story. One showed us in the kitchen, hands overlapping on a mug, lines soft around our smiles. Another captured a walk, arms linked against the city blur. They told it all without words. The secret nights that built us, the risks we'd traded for this. Her art filled the spaces, turning the cramped rooms into a gallery of quiet triumphs, her focus shifting from solitary worlds to ours intertwined. We moved through days with a steady ease, her voice carrying that hard-won truth when she'd pause mid-sketch, eyes lifting to mine. "This life we have," she'd say, low and certain, pencil still in hand. "It's the kind I didn't know I could claim. Steady, real. Your light in it makes the shadows worth it." Her compliment wrapped warm, acknowledging the path we'd carved, her resilience shining in the unflinching way she held my gaze now. No hesitation left. It closed the circle, her words a seal on the emotional weight we'd carried, turning vulnerability into foundation. Nights unfolded subtle, bodies familiar in the tangle of sheets, touches speaking without rush, her fingers tracing my spine slow, deliberate, the press of her palm against my hip grounding the quiet. We'd lie there, breaths sinking in the dark, her leg draped over mine, skin warm and known. The sensuality hummed low, in the way her thumb brushed my wrist during talks, or how she'd pull me closer after a long day, lips grazing my temple. The contact electric but unhurried, building in whispers and shared heat. No frenzy, just the depth of us. Touches that said everything the world outside couldn't touch. The payoff hit in waves. That secret we'd guarded so fiercely had freed us, flipping fear into the very ground we stood on. It stripped the illusions, left us raw but rooted. The hiding, a forge that strengthened every bond. No more glancing at doors, just us, open in our space. Fears resolved, gentle but firm. Her family's visit came one crisp afternoon, bags thudding in the hall as they arrived. Questions probing at first about her roommate setup. Elena met them head-on, hand finding mine across the table, squeezing once. "This is us," she said, voice quiet but steel-edged. No lies this time. Her mother's eyes widened, then softened over coffee, the tension easing into hesitant questions, handled with that same strength she'd built sketching alone. No more hiding. Her father's nod at the end, awkward but accepting, sealed it. We exhaled together after they left, her arm around me on the couch, the weight lifting final. In the hush that followed, heartfelt promises exchanged in whispers, her breath warm against my ear as we curled close. "No leaving this," she murmured, fingers lacing mine tight. "You and me, building from here." Rings flickered in my mind, simple bands, imagined but not rushed, symbols waiting when the time felt right. The turn rooted deep, her vulnerability fully mine now, the love we'd stumbled into solid, unspoken vows in every glance. Rain started outside then, pattering against the window like that first night, mirroring the storm we'd weathered. But now we faced it together, her head on my shoulder, the sound a rhythm rather than a barrier, pulling us closer into the warmth we'd claimed. Her hand stayed in mine, the city hum fading as our breaths synced, steady in the rain's soft drum. The secret became our strength. Love without barriers, unfolding, raw, and true. If this quiet pull resonates, share your hidden truths below. Subscribe for more Sapphic stories that unfold slowly, deeply,